Here we go. Okay, so if you all can go to Learning Suite, we're going to go over today the advanced updated winter document. And advanced, by advanced, it's not more hard, or it's not harder, more difficult. Yeah, thank you. It has more problems. It's just a continuation of the exam one review. And I felt that would be best to do today, since I feel like some of those extra problems will actually help you out, help you do better on the midterm. Oh, dang. Let's see here. Let's try. There we go. Okay. Let's hold on. I'm going to do a different chord here. Oh, actually, okay. Let me know if it goes away. If not, I'll switch it out. So to start off, so while you're getting that, just some tips and kind of reminders. So the midterm, it's 3 hour, it's time test, and the way Mr. Survey wants it, he wants you to kind of do it out in one block. So 3 hours, just plot out some time to sit down and deck it out in that way. It's open book, open note, just not open neighbor. So you can use any resources that you want. I highly suggest, like, if you've gone through, watched the videos, and done all of his practice problems along with the videos, then I put those like in a folder somewhere so that you can access those right away. 'Cause some of those formulas are super long, and we don't expect you to memorize all those, but you can where they are. And so I highly suggest that. The practice exam that we'll be doing today, covering now, will be very similar to how the midterm will be structured, as far as there'll be different tabs, and on those different tabs there'll be questions. So you'll see how that goes here in a sec. So the midterm, it starts this Friday and opens at midnight, and then it will close before that next Friday at midnight. So you have till then. Try and submit it. The way you'll go about submitting it is like your homework assignments. Submit your exam to the email that you usually do it. So you'll fill it out. Make sure to put your net ID. That's really important. Make sure to save as you go too, as well, because it's happened at times that people are working on their midterm and sometimes things crash, and so you lose all that work and stuff like that. So just make sure you do that too. Make sure, yeah, it's all saved correctly. I'm trying to think what else. Some tips that I have, like I said, make sure that you've gone through the videos. If you're the online section, or if you're in class, you've probably gone through it with Missouri, but make sure that you have everything filled out on your sheet so that you can go back and reference those. Review the homeworks. And some people think that if you study all the homeworks and they go and take the midterm, but they'll find out that the content that Missouri covers in class, not every problem that he covers is on the homework. So be aware that just because you study all the homeworks isn't going to fully prepare you for the midterm. Just keep that in mind. And the last thing that I really want to emphasize is make sure to read the questions very carefully. Like, sometimes with the rush of doing it in 3 hours, kind of try and speed through it. You want to move quick, but make sure that you're reading the instructions very carefully, because a lot of people will miss out points for not reading and doing what the instructions specifically tell you. And he's pretty, he's pretty strict about that.
Question: you said that some of the content from on the midterm will be covered in the homework. Where would we go to?
Just the videos. Like, he won't give you anything that you haven't seen in the videos before, but what I'm just saying is sometimes he doesn't put everything into his homework assignments.
On the flip side of that, if there's not been a homework on the topic, that topic's still very game.
Yeah, and there'll be a few things I'll mention while I'm going through the review that might not need to study as hard for, maybe. So keep that in mind. Any other questions?
So if I study and maybe go through this review, or if there's another one, and I just sort of crank it out fairly without too much difficulty, should I at that point feel comfortable in taking the exam?
Yeah, I feel pretty good. If you could do this review, like maybe while I'm going through it, try and see if you can beat me to the punch, you know, and if you can do that, then I'd feel like you're. Yeah.
So 3 hours time, if you knew everything and didn't have to look anything up, how long would it take on average?
It depends for different people. I've heard some people do it in like an hour 30. That's super quick. 2 hours, 30 minutes. Some people will spend the full time. So a lot of people that does kill, though. The time will kill you. If you get caught up on a problem, I'd move on to the next. Yourself. Yeah, the second you open up the file, just keep track of the time and then just note 3 hours from that point. And so it's kind of like on your honor. He could go back and check to see how long you did spend on it, but it's just kind of honor type of deal. All right, sounds good. For you, those of you coming in, this is recorded. If you need to leave anytime, I won't feel offended. Or if you feel like you got this pretty well, you can go ahead and leave. And as well, yeah, I'll put that on Learning Suite. And we're going to be going over the advanced review. And this is the solution key right here. There are a few solutions in here that aren't correct. I'll mention those as I go along. Only like 2 that I can think of as I was going through this. So, so we'll begin. I'm just going to pull up a chair here. So let's see here. Start off. Okay. Can you all see that pretty well? Pretty good. Yeah, looks good. All right. Feel free to ask questions as we go along. Usually at the end of each tab, I'll just kind of open it up, see if you guys have any questions. I'll try. If I go too quick, just raise your hand, slow me down. Sometimes I can do that. So just let me know. So the first thing is create a named range for each column and row in the table to the right. So over here, you could just spend your time going through and naming each one, but the quickest way to do this is you highlight the whole thing here, go to formulas, create from selection, click that. And then we got a top row and we also got a left column too as well. So you check those both, hit OK. So now you'll notice if I highlight these, they'll highlight north. If I go over here, you got January. So now we can go on to our questions. It says, what is the intercept for the East region in July? So you just do, dang, it's going to take me some getting used to. All right. Up here, you go equals, got East, the tab that kind of pushes it on through, and then July. And then you hit enter, and that gives you the intercept right there for those. And then what is the total sales for the month of October? So pretty cool. You just do sum, then put October. Then you close that off, hit enter. And then there's your sum right there. And then what is the second value in the south range? So does anyone know how would you get the second value? What formula? What? Index. Yeah, there we go, index. So do index. And then A for the south range, so we'll just put south. There it is. And then we want the second, so you just put a 2 there. You can close that off and hit enter. That should be our second value. And as you can see, yeah, there it is right there. Boom. So yeah, as you're doing the midterm, kind of double check yourself, you know, don't just take the formula for it, but go and look in the actual data itself and see, like, is that correct? Right here, create a named range called int rate and set it to 6%. So if we want to do that, we go to our name manager or define name. We'll create, and then right here, we'll do int rate. And right here, I always try not to use your keypad because it does weird stuff if you start moving around. So I just usually delete this right here. And you put equals and do 0.06. Okay. Then you'll see you have int rate right here times 1,000. So that should give you 60. So that doesn't work. You know that it worked. So the same thing, create a name days to today. We'll call it today 20. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to purposely name it wrong though. just real quick. So you got today, and there's a formula. You do today. That gives you the current date. And then you add, since Excel works in days, so all you got to do is add 20 to that right there. You hit OK, and then it's still going to give you this error like name. It's because we named it wrong. So let's say I did that. What I do is I come to my name manager, come down here and look for, oh, there's today. I double clicked. I'm going to go back and change that to 20 and hit OK. And once I close that, that should put in my new date right there. The 20 days added on to today. Create a name called CTR that refers to the cell to the right of it. And so for this, what I would heavily emphasize is be aware of where you've clicked when you do this. So let's say I put, let's put something over here. Let's see what, we got some number. I'm going to put 10 right here in the cell to the right. Oh, whoops. Oh, make sure you click on the cell. That's very important before here and defining a name. Just be aware of where you've clicked. So when you come here, we're going to call it CTR because everything is in reference now to this cell where I've just clicked. So now when I come down here, I'm going to click this cell to the right. And so if I leave the names right there, it's only going to work on this page that I have it. So it's kind of like a restriction saying only the names page. So if I take that off and just leave the exclamation right there, now it can work on any page. And I go ahead and get rid of these so it's not as locked in either. And so if I hit OK, it goes through and it does the calculations. And I can test it out here if I put like a 9 and do equals CTR. I get the same thing. And I don't know, we could always go try it on another page too. Let's just do 10, do equals C, and it works on the other page too as well. So just keep in mind the exclamation means it can work on all pages, and then if you want to restrict it to a specific page, you put the name sheet right there to the left. So as far as that goes, oh wait, we got a few more over here. What is the total for both the north and south regions? Oh, yeah.
So unless he asks for a specific function, will we be docked for doing things a different way?
No, yeah. If he specifically uses this function, use that function. But other than that, there's a lot of different ways. So, and yeah, we'll just cover that right here. There's some different ways you could go about doing this. So it says, what are the totals for both north and south? You just do equals sum. And then you do the north, comma, let's come over here a little, and then do south. And you just hit enter, and you got 749. If you want to double check yourself, I would just suggest doing the sum. Like if he specifically says using the north and south, I would do that on the midterm. But if you just want to double check and make sure that you've got that correct, though, you can always do a quick sum because pretty much almost everyone knows that. So there's that. What is the sum from January through May? Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to do a sum. And we're going to do, so what we got to use here are intercepts. So you do January, north, through, and then I believe you go May. Let's see here, find it. May, space, and then to the west. Hit enter, and that should give you the sum through that area. And we could double check ourselves too real quick. I want to do that, make sure I'm doing it right. So January through May, we drag it across right here. We can double check. Okay, so I did something wrong. Does anyone have an idea what? Oh, whoops. Let's take a look here. Let's try that real quick. Give me a second. Oh, whoops. Okay. Does anyone have an idea what may be wrong?
parentheses around the January and north, and then the May and west.
Okay, let's try that. We'll go check that. There we go. Sweet, yeah. Thanks for that. Yeah, right here. So January, so yeah, make sure to put those parentheses or else it won't work. Cool, cool. Yeah.
Real quick, if you go back to number 7, this is the question. What is your stress 33.3?
Oh, just because of the math in here. I don't know if yours has the same math, possibly. Does that make sense? If I change this to like a 3. Oh, whoops, sorry. That should change the answer there, or a 9. That will influence what it ends up being. Cool. So right here, we'll just do this real quick. Do equals. These are pretty simple. Average. You just do February. Enter. And what is the maximum for January? Do the max. January. And hold on. I put an extra parenthesis in there. So that's kind of how you do that. Any questions as far as that goes?
Can you just show the function again for the 5878, the bottom one? Yeah, the one you were just on.
Oh, this one? Yeah, okay. Okay. Cool, cool. All right. Let's go on to this one right here. So it says add a static date in the cell to the right, format it as how it is listed right there. And so a static date, remember there's a static and dynamic. If you're doing static, that means it doesn't change. So once you hard coded. So the way you're going to do that is you do control and hit the semicolon. That's going to give you the date. Then if you hit space and do control shift and then the semicolon, that's going to give you the time right there. Now we have that, but we also want it to be in this format right here. So you right click it, come down here to format cells. And we want it to be in this format. So usually I'll do a custom. What I usually just do is just add an extra M. It has a D right there. Throw that in there too. And then it says 2 Y's. So I'll just chop those off. 2 H's. And then AM, PM. AM/. So hit OK. And then if you stretch that out, that's now in the format that we want it to be. So and then the next one, add a dynamic date in the cell to the right. So that's just by dynamic, it's going to change. So we're going to use a formula. So this one is just today. And so it looks like the days, if I wanted to, I'll just do this real quick. Just come in here. If I want it to be day, month, just come in here, day, month, and then year. All those Y's, hit OK. Now it's in the format that we want it to be. Yeah?
The first one, do they want hour, minute?
That
Or is that just a typo?
That could just be a typo. I think you should be fine there. Usually time, you just put a semicolon. So yeah, go back, change that too. Whoops. So then this one, add 15 hours to the time to the right. So there's 2 ways you could go about doing this one. So you do equals, and then we'll take this cell, we'll do plus. And so the way it works in Excel, it works in days. So if we want to add 15 hours, we do 15 divided by 24. It's 24 hours in a day. And so if we do that, it's going to give us this weird number. And we're like, what is that? And we come here to general and go to time. Now it has the time added right there.
So if you were to just do plus 15, that'd be 15.
Yeah, you'd be adding 15 days. And that would be incorrect. Another way you could do it is you could do equals time. And you can do hours. So there's 15 hours, 0 minutes, 0 seconds, and then make sure to add the original time right here. And that will give you the same answer too, as well. So it's another way to go about that. This one right here, I think this was a homework example. And what you do here is you do equals. So you use a mod function, and you'll take this time minus this time right here. And then you use a 1 as a divisor. And then plus, and then you're going to do the same thing again, another mod function. You're going to do this time minus this time right here. And hit enter. Oh, whoops, hold on. Oh, sorry, I forgot my argument. Make sure you put a 1 right here. Hit enter. So then it gives you 7 hours right there. So you can just double click right there, and it populates it on down. And then if you want the weekly hours, you just take this cell, we'll just do that, and then right here do equals this cell above it plus the cell to the left. Now double click that, and it'll populate on down, but you'll notice that it's not really doing a cumulative hours. And so what you want to do there is you want to select this column, right click, and go to Format Cells. And then the key here is you want to get the, let's find it. Oh, there it is, right here. Usually if you're just doing hours, I don't think we need to do seconds. So I just chop those off right there and hit OK. So now there's your cumulative total. And you can go ahead and format this too if you would like to. If you just go to Format Cells. And then instead of AM, PM, just go ahead and get rid of that right there. And that gives you how much time you spent throughout the week.
Sorry, can you go back to the Format Cells?
For this one right here?
Yeah, that last one.
So right here, it's make sure to put the H in brackets.
Right. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
I think something got off on cell I-20 because it shouldn't total up to 55 hours.
Okay, let's take a look. I-20.
So we go into there, should our course be 31:45?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Let's take a look.
I think it's a problem with H20
H20.
because mine's showing up at 28.
Okay, did this copy down correctly? Let's see here. I-19, I-20.
I think it's because there's no time out for lunch or anything like that.
Oh, yeah, 16, that's correct. And then add 5. And
Can you
then,
switch it up to take from the finish time to the end time, beginning time and end time, then add back into the formula to the time, or subtract out the time.
okay. Yeah, okay, so I like that. If you want, let me just go over here real quick. We'll go to this. So here's a solution right here. Let me just pull this up right here. Go look here. 790-545-6-4. Oh yeah, just right here. It's just messing up.
It's your Saturday total hours because you have 2 mod things in the formula.
Oh, is it in the formula? Let's see here. Okay.
G minus F.
Sorry, say that again.
Well, because it's taking E minus D and G minus F.
Oh, okay.
I think the formula is supposed to be the end work day minus the start of work and then minus out the lunchtime.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would work too. Let's do that just real quick. So we'll switch this. We'll do the work day. This. Then we'll take this one. What is that? There we go. Does that look better?
Well, that's worse.
Oh, dang it. Wait, hold on.
But look, you've got F15 minus F15.
Oh, thank you. That's okay.
Should it also be G15 minus B15?
What the heck? Yeah. Okay. I think it's because I need to lock in my.
That should be G15 and the other one's B15. Just switch G.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Minus. There we go. Let's see. That. Let's see. This minus that. There we go. Yeah, that looks good. All right, so I'll put that up there just real quick. Okay, let's see here. This, I think we know how to do this, and I think this one's good, so we'll just skip this for now. For the charting part, what I would say is, so here he'll probably ask you to import data from a website. He won't be asking you anything like pulling data from a database or anything like that. So what I do though is, I found the fastest way to kind of go about doing this is you can go ahead and just copy that URL. Oops. Come here. You go ahead and just copy that and just go to a website. Just go and paste it in there. So if you want, you can go ahead and do this. I just think this is quicker and it will save you time. And just copy this right here. Go right there, hit Control C, and then you can go into Excel. Just find a row right here and hit Control Paste. And so it says right here, delete the billion null. Basically, just get rid of this data that's not important right here. This I'm going to go through quick just because I feel like we could spend a lot of time on this, but I'd like to spend it somewhere else. So right here, just make sure I just merge these. And then, okay. So then you can go ahead, select this data. And then you're going to go to Insert. And I usually just click the recommended chart and do this first one right here. The main thing I want to show you, I suggest you go back and watch the video for this part because he'll probably want you to make the chart look good. But right here, there's a part where it says format the chart so that the population is on a secondary axis. And so that's this low one right here. So if you click it and then right click it and go to format data series, then it will pull up this secondary axis. Once you click that, it pops it up on a higher. And then you'll notice it's got the scale right here to the right. So just kind of keep that in mind. That's important probably. And then the chart title, it says whatever's in K11. So let's just say put GDP history. Oh, dang it. Keep on using the wrong keyboard. History. Oh, whoops. I'll just make that text. So if I go here to the chart title, I usually click on the title and then I come up here and hit the equals. And then I go click on that cell and hit enter. And that does it. I do it in that specific order because usually if you don't, it will give you a hassle. And then whatever I do down here will update to a chart right here as well. So that's kind of all I want to focus on for that. Go and watch the video on how to like make it look better and look nicer for that part. Right here, so conditional formatting. Let's zoom in here a little bit. So quarter one, highlight the top 4 cells with green. So we're going to come here, select that, and go to conditional formatting. And then I usually come down to more rules from top, bottom rules. Oh, hey, Brittany. We'll come here and then just do the top 4 right here. So hit a 4. And then we want to make them green. So we'll go to format. We'll just put this green right here. Hit OK. And there's our top 4. And then quarter 1, highlight the bottom 2 cells with red. Let's see here. We'll go here again. And then if I went there wrong, you can always go there. And then do bottom. We'll just do the 2. And then format that to be red. And hit OK. And then there's your bottom 2 right there. So, and then quarter 3, highlight any cell that has an amount divisible by 2. Whoops, well, I did that in the wrong quarter. But anyways, you have the idea. So come here, and then you'll want to go to same place, just do a new rule. So for this one, you can use 2 formulas. You can use the mod or the is even function. I like the mod because possibly if he asks you highlight all numbers divisible by 3, then you can't use the is even. You want to use the mod function for that. So the way it works is you do equals and do mod. And then the way it works is if you want it to apply to all the cells, you do the first one that you've in your selected set. So you want to do this cell K4. And then make sure you delete the dollar signs too as well. And then you'll do that. And then so using the mod function, if it's even, you want to put a 2. That way, if it's divisible by 2, you'll get a remainder of 0. So you'll close that off and put equals to 0. So that means if it's divisible by 2, you're going to have a remainder of 0. And if it's equal to 0, then go ahead and highlight the cell. And so we'll go to format, and then we'll just do any color. And then hit OK. Hit OK. And then it highlights all of the even cells for you. So that's one way to do it. If we want to do there's another function. Let's try a new rule. We'll do the same thing. Do equals. Do is even, I believe. And then select that first cell. And then we'll do a format. And let's just say blue. Hit OK. Oh, hold on. So if that doesn't work, you can always come back and do manage rules. And then, so this is for a current selection. If you want to see the whole sheet, you can click that and it can show all the rules that we've done so far. So let's go here. I double click. I think the reason why is if it's even, it's going to return true. Try that and see if that works. Ah, dang it. Do you know why, Brittany, it's not? Let me see here.
I think it's because you got it locked in.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, make sure to remove those dollar signs. There we go. So that's how you can go about using that right there. Okay, any questions as far as that goes? We're good? All right. Okay, so this is the next part. This will be pretty big. Let me zoom in here. So what he may have you do is he'll have you do an advanced filter as well, use a database filter too. And so we'll just do an example here. It says how many teams have greater than 200 home runs, greater than 2,400 total bases, and a batting average of at least .260. So we'll come down here. One thing I'd suggest is making sure to look at the data a little bit, just so that you know that you're putting in. Sometimes if it says a percentage, make sure that it's not like, see if they're decimal, if they're in a decimal format, or if it's in an integer format. That way you'll know that your criteria is correct when you go to do this. So 200 home runs, go 200. And then 2,400 total bases. So we'll go here, do 2,400. And then a batting average of .260. And so in the solution sheet, it's incorrect. It has it over here when it should actually be right here. So just so you know.
Didn't you put in the greater than sign?
Oh yeah, you're right. Let me get that for you. So do here 0.260. So I'll go back here real quick. So yeah, so the signs that you'll need are greater than, and then the greater than right here. And then it says at least 2.60. So we'll do greater than equals. Or sorry, yes. It says at least. So no, you want it to be greater than or at least. So you want to make sure it's greater than 0.26. So then hit enter. So let's do the advanced filter first. So we'll go to data and then just go to advanced. I like to actually, if you click in the table and then hit advanced, it kind of picks that up for you already, the whole range that you're doing. Then find your criteria range. So you're just going to select all these headers and you can do the whole thing right there and just close that down. And then hit OK. And what it's going to do is it's going to filter all of those for you. And it's going to find all the records. It's going through each record one at a time, and it's finding what matches that criteria. So right here you have that. If there's a lot, then what you'd do is you'd click on this and then go to design. And usually if make sure this total row box is checked, and you can come down here. And if you want, you can get like a count, and it'll tell you like 1 right there. So we just come up here and hard code a 1 to the box. Now, if we're using a database, a D function, I call it, but you do D. So I'm going to use the D count A, and that is, so the difference is the count is going to count the number of numbers, cells that contain numbers. DA counts the number of cells that contain text. So I'm just going to do D count A, and I'll explain here in a sec why. So it wants you to select your database, or basically your table. So if you remember correctly, I'll exit out just real quick. Here's my table. If I click on it and go to design, my table is called table 1 right here. I can change that and call it whatever I want. I can just database right there. So now it has a new name called database. So let's go back here real quick. So equals, we'll do D count A. So if I start typing in database, it will pop up there. Just hit tab. So the key thing here, a lot of people forget, is you want to do a square bracket and do the pound sign and do all, and then close that off with another square bracket. And that selects the whole table. And then for your field, this is what I found is best, is if you come down to your table and then click on the header. So since we're doing text, since we're checking for the number of cells that contain text, I'm going to click on the team column. So if I click right there, it does it all for you. And that way you don't have to go through and make sure that you have all your brackets right. So do that, and then I just hit comma. And then the same thing, now it's going to ask for your criteria. And you go ahead and select the same thing. And if you want, you can name these too. If you want to name your criteria and just put in the name, that will work too as well. And so then I hit enter, and lo and behold, it's got the same number. And so what's cool is with a database function is this right here. If I go ahead and clear this out, so I unfilter it, it will still have the same amount no matter what you do. So it's pretty solid. And if what's cool is if I could change this right here on the fly, let's say I made this like 100, greater than 100. Let's see. It should update it on the fly right there. So that's what's kind of cool about that function. So so could anyone explain what's the difference between a dsum, a sum, and a subtotal? Does anyone kind of have an idea, maybe? Rough ball estimate? No, I'll explain it. Okay, so here's what it is. Dsum is like, it's doing a sum, but you can add a criteria to it. Whereas a sum, no matter what's selected, it's going to add everything up in that column. And then a subtotal is meant just to be based off of whatever is in the table. So if I change my table, then the subtotal is going to change too as well. So just an example I can do equals subtotal. And then do 109. That's just a sum function. And then I can reference my table right here. So if I want to subtotal, like let's say all the home runs, come down here, select this, and then close it off, hit enter. So right here it says 4934, or yeah, so that's our total. If I went and did another filter though, oops, hold on. Click here, do an advanced. If the row contains columns labels, you should indicate your selection of the filter. Okay, hit OK. So I just filtered, but if you notice, my subtotal changed with it too as well. So subtotal is kind of based off of how your table is working. So let's just do this one. What is the batting average for the teams that have an OPS greater than 0.75? I'll just come over here, put greater than 0.75. And then we'll just come back up here and do equals the average. And we'll do the same thing. We got our database. We'll do all. Let's see. Go. And then our fields, we want it for all the batting average. So if I just come here, click right there, hit comma, scroll up and select my criteria. And close that off and then hit enter. There's my average right there. And then if I want to do the same thing for my filter, except this time all I'll do is I'll change the criteria to this one. And then okay. And right here, so if you want to check it, here's our home run, or what was it, the batting average. If I come down to right here, do the average. If I copy that and paste it right here, we should get the same numbers going across right there.
Can you show the blue code that you just?
Yeah, right there.
How do you get that code on my just typing in my database?
Oh, so did you rename your table? So yeah, make sure it's just whatever the name of your data, your table is, put that in there as well. In my column, it works a lot nicer that way, but this is just one way to do it. Are we all good there? Okay, so we'll do this, and this one's pretty good. So it says, what is that should be has an OPS greater than 0.75 and triples greater than 13, or have the team name Colorado. So right here, we'll just do, let's see here, OPS greater than 0.75. Then do triples greater than 13. And then have a team name Colorado. So we'll just go to team. So or means go down to the line right below it. So everything that is like an and you want to do on the same line. But the second you see it or, you want to jump down to the next line. And so once you jump down, you can put in Colorado. Make sure you just spell it right, and that it's in the same format it is down here. What would I do if I wanted everything but Colorado? So you want to have an idea?
You do greater than less than before?
Yeah, exactly. So if I don't want Colorado, I do something like that. So keep that in mind too as well. And then there's also wildcards, which is like saying, what if I want all the states that start with C? If I do a C and do a little star right there, that's like saying that's how you would do it. That's how you get, because the star is like, I don't care what's after. I want it to make sure it starts with the C, but whatever's after it, I don't care. So that's how you want to, if it asks for anything that starts with the C, or if anything that doesn't start with the C, then you would just do make sure you throw these in right there. That's just, you know, but we're doing Colorado, so we'll do that right there. So then we'll just do our advanced filter. We'll come here, select this, hit OK. There we go. I like to double check myself. So we got a Colorado, but how come not all of these are Colorado? It's because these also meet the criteria too as well. It's a whole different criteria. So that's why it's not all entirely Colorado. It's because you have other teams that have triples greater than 13 and have an OPS greater than 0.75. So any questions there? Sounds good. All right. Okay, so now we're going to go on to arrays. So here it says using the data to the right, use an array formula to find out how much profit our company would make from this sale. So it gives you a hint, sales price minus our cost times the amount. So the way, when we're working with arrays, I like to think of it as an array is basically just a list, or imagine like a drawer. And then in that drawer, you can put certain objects, and by object it can be numbers, so you can put a number in each one of these drawers, a cell, or it can be strings, it could be words that you put into these different cells. And when you're doing an array, what you're doing is when you hit Control Alt Enter or Control Shift Enter, it's like telling it to execute on each one of those objects in a list. And so that kind of helps out some. So what you want to do is you do equals, and so we want to add these all together for the, it says, find out how much profit our company would make from the site. So we can do sum, we'll do a bracket, and then we want to do, basically, I'm just going to copy this formula right here. So you take the, I'll do another parenthesis and do sales price, or actually before we do this, sorry. This just makes life easier rather than having to go through and select each column. I like just to go here real quick and create from selection. Make sure to uncheck this box because we don't want to name anything to the left. And just hit OK. So now all our columns are named for us to go to use. So now we'll come back here, equals sum, do sell price. So that shows up minus our cost times the amount. And close that off for your sum, and hit Control Shift Enter. And that should give you there. And to double check, you can also do a sum, that might be wrong, but to double check ourselves, we can do a sum product. You can do this array, comma, this array. Enter. So they're off a little bit. So I think, let's see. Oh, did I do that? Oh, you're right. Sales price minus our cost. Yeah, that's correct. And then change that to amount. There we go. That's the way. He'll expect you to use the array, but if you want to double check yourself, you can use this sum product. We're going to do it right here. So the next one, name the range of numbers, names to the right numbers. So just select that. I usually just come up here and type numbers, hit enter. So now that range is named numbers. If I go back and highlight it again, it's still the same. So now if I want to multiply all the numbers by 3, I select that whole range. I come up here and hit equals numbers times 3, and then hit Control Shift Enter, and that multiplies them all across going that way. And then if I want to transpose it, I'll just select that range again and do equals and do transpose and type in numbers, and then hit Control Shift Enter, and it transposes it all for you just like that. Is that good? Okay, so up here, so this is really important right here. So it says give a sum of profit for items that have a sell price of more than $15. So what I'm going to do, there's different ways you can go about doing this, and I'm just going to do what kind of makes the most sense to me. So I'm going to come to this. We're going to copy this right here. And we're going to paste it right in here. To kind of explain what's going on right here, so you have a sales price minus our costs. So we're going to do that and multiply it by our amount. That's how we've been doing it before. But inside, I'm going to go ahead and do multiply. And I'm going to put 2 parentheses. And inside, I'm going to do, we want to make sure that the sales price is more than $15. So the sales price has got to be greater than 15. So what's going on right here? So when it's checking each row at a time, it's going to check that to see if this is greater than 15. If it's not, it's going to return false. And a false is like a 0 in Excel. So basically what you're doing is you're taking all of this, and if it's false, you're going to multiply by 0, and that's going to end up, the whole thing's going to be 0. And so you're not going to add that to your bucket. So I imagine like the sum is like saying, here's a bucket. We're going to keep adding everything to the bucket as we go along. But if everything's 0, then we're just going to add 0 to the bucket. And so if you hit Control-Shift-Enter, that should give you the new price right there for only these ones that are greater than 15. And then, so the same situation, what is the total cost for amounts where we sold exactly 2 items? So it's very similar. I'll just go back here. I'll copy this again. Go select the whole thing. Hit Control Paste. And then we'll do amount. And it's got to be equal to 2. And if I hit Control-Shift-Enter, that gives me my new answer right there. And so it's kind of, any questions about how that works? I think that's the most straightforward. There are other ways you can use an if function in there, but I think that's the most straightforward way to go about doing it. Okay, awesome. Okay, circular references. So right here it says use circular references, solve the following equations right here. So I'll just show you. This is what may happen to a lot of students. They'll come here and you'll be like, okay, so it's a circular reference, so I'm going to do G2 plus 2 divided by G2. You can try that. Make sure to wrap this in parentheses right here. I'm going to hit enter, and it's going to give me 0. And that doesn't quite seem right. So why is that possibly? First of all, it might be because if you come to here, you want to make sure you go to options and then go to formulas and check this box right here, enable iterative calculation. If you don't do that, you're not going to get a correct answer.
Does that setting stick with this Excel sheet, or is that?
No, I think every time you open up an Excel sheet, you're going to have to go through and set that. But I would double check to make sure, because usually it's kind of how the sheet was configured. So if you're downloading it, and so however Professor Maservi said it, more likely I think he's going to leave it unchecked. And so then right here, I just beefed this up. I would do like 100,000. Okay, maybe it will only let me do so much, but I like to do as much as I can, just because maybe I'll see why. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. So I'll just go back and do it again. So go to File, come to Options, and then Formulas. If it's a Mac, it might be a little different. I don't know if you're.
If you press Command, then you get to like functions or something. Population.
Did you find it?
I got it. It's Command Excel references. Yeah.
Okay. So.
Your way works. Command.
Okay. Cool. So Command comma. That's
Yeah,
what you did.
this
Okay. Sounds good. All right. So yeah, that's how you set that. I just set that high. So now we're getting, so we got that working, but now we're getting another error. It's a divide by 0 error. And the thing is, so when it starts, it's got to start somewhere. And if it tries throwing a 0 into here, you can't divide by 0. That will throw an error. So in order to fix that, what we have to do is we have what it's called is giving it a seed. So you do if. Our logical test is going to be, does the cell G2 equal 0? And if that's true, this could be any number, but I usually just put 1 right there. And that's just to say, if it's 0, put in a 1. That way we won't get that divide by 0 error because we don't want to try dividing by 0. And then if anything else, then you're going to do what we just did right there. So then you close that off and hit enter. And then you'll get a number like that. It's 2.18. So it's getting close. The reason why I like to make that number really high, as I showed before, it's what it's doing is it's recalculated it like 1,000 times. And so if I hit F9, what it does is it keeps recalculating it over and over. And if I just keep hitting that a couple of times, it'll eventually pan out to the answer is 2. So that's why I say try and get that as high as you can. But if not, just keep hitting F9 till it pans out to a specific number, till it stops changing. Like I'm hitting F9 right now and nothing's changing. So that means I've found the right solution right there. Are you good? No, that's okay. Anything else unclear though? Does that make sense? Confusing. So what it's doing is it's calculating over and over on itself till it finally finds the right answer. And so that's kind of how it works. Yeah. So yeah, you got to make sure to give it a seed right here. And that could be any number. I can make that a 5, a 6. It won't affect. As long as if it's not 0, then you should be good.
So on the exam, is he wanting us to get to 2?
It could be a different solution. If you hit F9, or like if you do what I just did and keep hitting F9 till it comes to a certain answer, then you'll have it. But it won't be, it's not going to be exactly 2. It'll be a different formula, but something similar.
It's till it comes to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. And then, yeah, I changed that. So you just do it over again. There we go. Okay. So use solver to maximize the profit of the potato chip production. Must at least meet demand, and you cannot use more labor or materials than you have available. So does everyone have solver? Is there anyone here that doesn't have solver? If you don't, you go to options and come to here to advanced add-ins. Yeah, there we go. Oh, my computer's running slow. There we go. And then if you look through here, you'll find solver right here. And so if you click that and hit go, make sure that the solver add-in is checked, and then hit OK. And then if you come to your data tab, you should have it right over here. So if we come here and we're going to do solver. So open that up. So our objective is try and find the max profit. So we're going to set our objective. This is it right here. And we're going to do that by changing the variables in these cells right here.
One above.
What? Oh, one above.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Let's do bags produce. Let me double check that real quick. Because this is the demand. Yeah, let's do one above. Yeah. Okay, so make sure we get that correct. And then, so we're going to add our constraints. So we'll do add. So our first one is the number of bags we produce can't exceed our demand. So it's either got to be equal to, less than, or equal to.
Wait, let's at least meet demand.
Oh yeah, we'll switch that. Sorry. So you just come here. E11. Be greater than. Hold on, is that correct?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. So we'll add that. And then we'll got to make sure that right here we've got this set correctly. So I'll just select these two, less than or equal to what's available. We'll add that. And then another thing too is the bags that we're producing, we got to make sure that they're full bags and not like half a bag. And so you want to make that an integer. That just makes it set. So add that and this hit cancel. So now you'll see that all of these have been added right here. So then once we've done that, just hit solve. And then it says solver found an integer solution within tolerance. And so basically it said we found you an answer. Did you guys get that as well? Okay, awesome. So that's pretty much it right there. Any questions about solver? Pretty straightforward. Okay. This is the last one. This part, I feel like it's really important just because I feel like this is what you'll really be using out when you're working, or I just got to ask yourself questions about your data. So for this right here, so I didn't mention this, but he'll probably ask you to import data from some type of file, more likely an Access file, is my guess. So if you have a Mac, I would suggest try practicing, because I've also heard that it might be a little tricky if you've got a Mac. So make sure you try that out. I don't know you.
I would use a Windows.
Okay, but yeah, just so you know, if you plan on using a Mac for taking the midterm, know that this part, if you're trying to import a file, it might get a little tricky. I don't know. I'd have to test it out. Let's see. Okay. But what we're going to do is, so the data is already listed here in this table, but if it comes as a separate file, just kind of know how to do that. In the way you could do it is either insert a table, or you could do it straight from when you click pivot table here. Kind of gives you an option to import from a table, or you can do it from another data source too as well. So I'm going to import this pivot table. Let's put it on this sheet right here. If I hit OK, here's my pivot table. So now we can like answer these questions. So it says, how many basketballs were sold in the month of October? Yeah. So yeah, the way you're going to do that is go to Insert. Let me click off of this. So go to Insert, go to Pivot Table, and then select your range. So right here, here's my whole range. And then location, if you do an existing worksheet, then that way you can put it on this current worksheet right here. And if I do, then it will let me. And I think the reason why is because I got this off. What I like to do sometimes, make it easier, I go and click into my table and then do my pivot table, and it kind of selects it all for you automatically. Then that way, when I go to do the existing worksheet, then I can go ahead and hit OK. And that puts another one in right there. Does that make sense?
Under existing worksheet, what did you put? Or sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, like the location.
Yeah, the location. You can just click anywhere you want, and that's where it's going to show up. Actually, I'm going to delete this real quick. Delete. Maybe it won't let me do it. Can't make the change cell because. Okay. Yeah, that's true. Let's do that. All right. Okay, so let's answer some of these questions here. It says, how many basketballs were sold in the month of October? So looking at this data, if you kind of preview it beforehand, so we got our items, our locations, the amount, the representative, the approach, and the satisfaction, and the date. So looking at that, we can go, okay, so got my items. I want to know how many were sold. And so if I go to I just pick item and you put it in the values right here, and that will give you a count how many items. So these are all cells. So drag that over, but I want to know how many for the month of October. So I look for sales date, and sorry, I clicked on that. What I do is I grab it and I drag it into this column right here. So now I can look across, oops, hold on. Let me get rid of that. There we go. So here we go. So I can see here, it looks like it's all spread out. So a way you can, if that does happen to you, come here and do date filters. I like to do, where is it? This, or you see month, next month, this month? Let's see if that, oh no, that's not it. Let's see here.
Stop using the sales state, like they have month down there. You can just use month.
Oh yeah, that's right. Let's do that. Are you saying like this, come over here?
You know, like over there, if you scroll down.
Oh yeah, there we go. Oops. Let's get rid of this. There we go. Cool. So we can see right here for the month of October, there were 4 basketballs sold. So I just hit 4 right there.
Is that, I'm sorry, maybe I'm reading the table wrong.
Oh, whoops.
Because isn't that how many salespeople sold basketballs in the month?
No, that's how many there are, because we're doing a count of the items. And so if it got put into the table, that's a sale. Basically, if you go and look at this data right here.
So what's the amount column for?
That is the price of that item that was sold. Yeah. Yeah. Does that make sense?
That's a bad name for price.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't make this. So just, yeah, think in your mind, amount is price, equivalent to a price in this situation. So, and then which salesman had the lowest percentage of sales for September? So what you can do is I like to, you click the table, hit Control Copy, and paste. So that way, if you want to save your table and then go work in another one, that way we can do that too. So now let's clear this out. Just drag these out here. And then.
I think amount is the count of items, isn't it?
No, it's the price.
It is?
Yeah. The amount is like, that's how much it costs. Yeah, it's a poor naming, but just let's assume that for right now. So here, let's go back here. Salesman had the lowest percent of sales for December. So let's get our sales reps. We'll bring them down here. And amount, this is where we'll grab the amount. And then we want to get September. So we'll grab our months and we'll bring that over here too. So which one had the lowest percent? So we got all these numbers. What we want to do is right click and go to show value as. And so we want it for the month of September. So we want it as a row total, percent of row total. Actually not row. So that's incorrect. We want the column total. That way adds up to. So all of these right here are adding up to 100%. So we want for the month of November. Is that what it was? Or September. So let's do September. So what you can do is, it's kind of hard. If you want to, you can highlight those. And I just do a filter and do smallest to largest. And so that rearranges it for you. So now we can see that Philip had the lowest percentage for the month of September. So I just come up here, type in Philip's name. And what was his percentage? We just come here. If you look up here, it's like it's got a lot of integers. If you want, you can just copy that and go ahead and paste it into that cell right there. That's that question. For salesmen who use both approaches, which was more effective? And so I don't even know what that is exactly, but we'll find out here. So we can come here and check that. So as we look through here, there is a sales approach. So that'll probably be important. So I'll put that there. Then we also want to know for which sales rep. And so if we do here, and then we're also going to need to know, let's do the amount right there. So we want to know which one did better. So those that did both approaches, so we can see here, we got Bob, Jeff, Jenny, and Matt, and Philip. They did both approaches. So just looking at it real quickly, which one does it look like did better? So we can see approach 2 won, or was better for Bob. Approach 2 was better for Jeff. It was better for Jenny. Not better for Matt, but better for Philip. So we can say overall that approach 2 did the best. So we just come here, and there's a little drop down. Do 2. This question right here is poorly worded. And, well, not poorly. Yeah, it is poorly worded. And also, I'd say it's not a really great example. So I'm going to change this to shirts. We're going to do shirts instead. Because if you do the shoe one, like they're all the same percentage. So it doesn't quite, it's kind of confusing. So it says here, for shirts, what were the percentage shirts sales for the following salesmen in November based off of the sales amount? So copy this. Okay, for November, so we're not going to need this anymore. And then we want the months, put those over here. It says, what percentage shirts for the following salesman in November? And then we're going to also want the item. So we're not going to need this. What percentage shirt sales for the following? Oh, for the following salesman. So we want it for the following salesman. So we're going to leave the sales rep here, but we also want the item. So I'm going to throw item on top. So if we look here, it's got each item here, and it's going down this big list right here. So here's, there's the shirts right here. So we want it as a percentage. So if I right click and go to show values as, so you'll notice you'll have here percent of column total. There's also a percent of parent column total. And if you notice here, there's a row and then a parent. So like, what is the difference between those two? If I do the row, what that's doing is it's giving let's do the column actually. Let's do the percent of column total. So you'll notice here, what it's doing is it's giving a percentage based off of this base right down here at the bottom. But if you want to do a parent total, what that's doing is when I go to parent column total. Oh, whoops, did I click row? Let's see. Oh, no. Let's do parent row total. Oh, hold on 1 second. Percent of parent total. These, I thought it would be of each column. Hold on 1 second. Percent of grand total, column total. So these add up to 100. Then summarize, show value as percent of parent total. So I think, okay, so what it's doing is right here, it has these percentage, all these percentage, you got the parents, these should all be of that percentage right there. So if there's a shirt, does that make sense? 55%. So these percentages are based off of this 55 or this 20% for the shirt. Is that correct? I'll have to go back and check that. I may post another video on how to.
So like they sold a third
Of all shirts.
Which happens to be 20% of all sold.
Yeah.
Is that the number you're looking for?
Yeah, so that's going to be, and that's the thing why I don't like this problem. It's very poorly worded. And so I'll make another video for this section right here to clarify a little better when I'll have to look into this a little more. Yeah.
So would it make sense to filter by item and only show shirts?
Yeah. So what we could do is just go here and just do that and do shirts. Okay. So now I like this. That way I can go in here and then you can do the column total. So that way we can get here these percentages. So Bob, for what month was it? November. Go here. I just copy that. Throw it up here. Then Matt. And Tim. Then Jane. There we go. So that's kind of how to do that. But that, yeah, I'll do another video on that right there. So which location has the highest customer satisfaction? Copy this table. And then come down here. So we have location. Here's the satisfaction right here. So do the location and then the customer satisfaction. Let's make sure that, let's do an average. That would probably make more sense. So if I come here and do an average, then I can come down to my table. So here they are. Here's each location. And then I can go ahead and sort those from largest. So it looks like Provo had the highest average satisfaction. So I'll just come over here, type in Provo. Does which items sell the least in that location? So sometimes some of the questions will be based on others. Most often it won't be, but just so you know, just keep that into account. That make sure that you get this one right so that you can get this one. So it says which items sell the least in that location based off of the quantity. So I could come here, copy that. We'll do another table here. Yeah, you're welcome. So let's just do Provo. We're going to bring this out. Let's bring our items down here. Oh, whoops. Bring items. Pivot table cannot overlap with another pivot. Oh, okay, so I got a problem because it's going to overlap. So what I'll do is I'll just do it over here. Yeah. Yeah, I just don't want to lose the work that I've done. If you want, though, you can go ahead and switch it up if you want. I'm just doing this so I can just kind of keep track. So let's throw this out. I'll just select a month here. So item, get rid of that. I'll throw item right here and I'll put the location. I'll drag that down right here. And then we'll take this out and we want to count of the item. So we got Orem, Provo right here. So now to get a more, we filtered on this right here. Let's make sure this is all. So now here's that. Maybe I'll switch it up and do it this way. Put the item here and the location here. And then let's just filter for Provo since that was our highest. So we can look here and we can see that the jacket was the lowest. We can go ahead and do smallest to largest. So we got a jacket. So right here, which items sell the least? So we could just say jacket. Who sold that item? So one way, a quick way is just you just come in here and double click and then it'll bring up that data. And you can see here that Sean sold that item. So you can just delete that tab after you're done. And then you can go in and put Sean. And then how many items did Phillips sell between October 8th and November 11th? So this will be the last one. We'll copy that. So we'll come down here. How many items did Phillips sell? So this is where I like to, I'm going to take out the month here. And I'm going to do the sell date. Put it in right there. And then we'll take out items. And we're curious to know how many fill up sold. So we're gonna make this normal, no calculation. Let's filter. Let's take out months here. That's looking kind of funky. Okay, so now we got this. Let's just get fill up here. And then we want to know, so we got all these dates. So what we're going to do here is we're going to come and do, click here, and then come click on this right here. Let me see. Date, filters, do between. What days was it? Do you guys have what day it was supposed to be? So October 8th. October 8th. Is that for 2015? I'm guessing. Data. I'm gonna guess that. 2005. Okay, good to know. And then November 11th. So first. Oh, okay. 2005. Hit OK. There, that gives it to us, those dates right there. So now we can see how many items did he sell. So we can see in between that time how many he sold. So he sold 12 on this day, 2 on this day, 9 on that day. So in total, he sold 23 items.
That was of the amount, or what would you do?
Oh, that's a good question. Let's double check that real quick. Yeah, you're right. So we'd actually change that to count. So yeah, 1-1. So yeah, in reality, he only sold 5. Great catch. There we go. Cool.
So I'm guessing we don't have to keep the tables that we run for each question.
No, you don't have to. As long as you get an answer. That was just so I could, if you guys want to go back, I can go look at that table and show that. But other than that, that's it. Are there any other questions? I think, yeah.
I would like to go over 6 again.
Okay, sure. We can do that. So I'm going to stop recording. But other than that, thanks, guys. If you want to go.